welcome to another episode of Dr. Podcast. And today we have an amazing guest, Dr. Francis Wise. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Reem. It's great to be here.
So, how about we start by a little bit of introduction?
Okay. Well, as Dr. Reem said, my name is Fran Wise. I am the Director of Student Affairs at California North State University, College of Health Sciences. I've been with the university for about 8 years now, and I've taught English and communication, and my major job is watching over our students and making sure they achieve their goals in achieving their healthcare professional dreams. So, and here we are.
Thank you so much. So, starting with your PhD journey, how about you share with us a little bit what inspired you to focus specifically on post-secondary and adult education, and how did that passion evolve during your academic and professional career?
Yeah, that is in itself is an interesting journey. I've been a teacher my whole life. I started off being a teaching in preschool with my mom's preschool when she was a preschool teacher, and I'd be helping out and taking over and teaching and working with the kids. And then eventually my focus shift to elementary school, and I taught in LA for many years as a younger teacher. Um, Fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade. I had an interest in the older elementary. Throughout the years, I eventually journeyed into high school and really enjoyed that. I had a keen interest in homeschooling because we're talking about the mid to early 1980s. Um, Homeschooling was taking off. It met a lot of obstacles. People saying, "Is it illegal? Can we do this?" So I started my own academy for K-12 as a way of, first of all, helping parents select the curriculum for their children that they wanted to teach their children at home, serving as an umbrella school because I did have a master's in education and a California teaching credential for preschool through adult education, and ran that school for about 15 years. And then really had this heart to, what about the next steps? My last frontier is what I called it, and that was a doctorate in education. And I was thinking, could I do it in homeschooling? Could I do it? What? No, I know too much about homeschooling and done some more research. Yeah, whatever. I was trying to find a university that would support my ideas on homeschooling. They all were very supportive to the ones that I applied to. But I was reading a book by Miriam Caffarella and Baumgardner on adult learning. And it caught my attention because it was an area I had no idea about. When I read their book on the very every facet of adult education, I went, wow, it really caught my attention. It really did. I thought, I have not done any research in this area. I've never taught in this area. And I was really looking forward to finding my last frontier in education. And this was it. By this time, I was in my late 40s. I was really excited to begin a program. I started at Capella University, but I had to stop because it was, quote unquote, interfering with my family life. I have five wonderful children, and being running the academy. I was also serving as a principal for some local schools in California, here in Northern California. Um, it was just too much, and I had to stop. But when I finished my obligations, because when I moved to the Sacramento area, they were in desperate need of principals, and I said, "Sure, I'll do that." I did that for 5 years. It was great to run a school, but it was not fulfilling that ache inside, and I went back to thinking about adult education. So I did the brave thing of leaving K-12 behind, and this was in 2013, and just forged ahead to immerse myself into adult education, into all the theories, practices. I found what my thesis, my dissertation, my research love would be in how adults learners persist in their education, particularly when they hit their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Because, um, yes, a lot of people have great dreams and ideas of going to graduate school and making things happen and getting that career going. But this was my last frontier, and I decided to take a different approach. I took actually 3 years, 2 years off from teaching and administration and just immersed myself and got to look at the theories, test the theories, see the theories. It was wonderful. And the one person that caught my attention was Malcolm Knowles. He is the father of Andragogy, which means how adults learn. We have pedagogy, that's how children learn. Andragogy is how adults learn. And he had some fabulous points that adults learn because they want to. And it's like, wow, you do not have that idea in K 12 at all. And from there, I went to look on this whole persistence because persistence was very important to me. How do you persist? How do you keep going in the midst of careers? I mean, I had the luxury of taking 2 years off and just immerse myself. A lot of my colleagues never had that chance. And so I decided higher ed is where I'm going to go. I don't mind if it's community college. I don't mind if it's a 4 year. I don't mind if it's graduate school. And I got to teach at all three and really see how do we put these theories to work in the classroom. Completely changed my teaching style. Absolutely changed it. I went from the authoritarian person on the stage telling them, you'll do this and read this and write a paper on this, to what are your thoughts? What are your views? What do you think of this? I just put this on the board. What do you think? And getting these marvelous conversations going was absolutely a winner for me, and really reignited my love for teaching. And so I did my dissertation on how adults persist when they want to apply to medical school. And that was, I still use my dissertation. Most people get their dissertation out of the way so they can start their own. My dissertation was everything to me because it was happening. I was teaching here at California North State. I was with the post-bac students who come back to get those requirements that they need to apply for medical school or to improve their science GPA, so they're more of a competitive applicant. And I was just in my glory. These students were amazing. I did a qualitative interview with all of them to find out what's going on here. What does persistence mean to you? And it opened up this whole field that I had no idea what they were going to say and how they were going to say. But what it did was it gave me more of an understanding of the route I was taking in adult education. Yeah.
Wow, I mean, that's really impressive, and it shows the passion that you have, the deep, deep passion that you have for education at all levels, and that's why it's really fascinating to listen to your journey because it's not only one level. You started from K through 12, and then you went on to,
Yeah.
adult education.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And you mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned how you pursued your PhD while already working in the field. And you did manage to balance the academic research with the professional practice. And it did show big time that you did try to have sort of a synergy between both worlds, right?
Yes.
Would you like to elaborate more on how, the academic research had an influence on your practice? Although you did tap a little bit on it, but how did they complement one another?
They complement like my personal life
That
with yes.
yes,
You know,
and
that is the one
academic
thing that,
also with the professional.
yeah. When I initially started on the PhD journey, I was really enthralled. I was really into it. But I could also see my children who were ages 8 through 17 um, kind of missing out on mom. And I knew that wasn't ready. Um, Balancing doctoral research with family life, you really do have to know why you want to do this and how are you going to do this. And that takes a lot of introspection. It takes a lot of time, quiet time to just sit and think, quiet time to write it all out and figure it out. That's how I process. I've got to write about things. I can think and go, yeah, that's a great thought, but if I don't write it down, it doesn't really get embedded into the old heart. Um, it was very difficult um, to balance that. And at the same time, I was taking care of my 95-year-old father. And I knew by the time I was going to be doing my dissertation, my father lived with me for 5 years, that I wouldn't have the time to take care of him. So that meant calling up my brothers saying, hey, look, this is really important to me. Love Pop dearly. I'm not going to be able to do this. And thankfully, one of my brothers said, yeah, you can live with us. And that was wonderful. And he understood. My father understood. And I think he appreciated going to my other brother's house because it was more of a social life there for him. But it's these hard decisions that you have to make. And by this time, on my second attempt, my children were older and they understood. My husband is a saint. He understood that on the weekends, the evenings, for the first, I would study at least an hour to 2 hours a night, Monday through Friday. Saturday night was free. There was no study on Saturday, but that I would be doing my homework on Saturday and Sunday. But Saturday night was our night. We'd go out, we'd go to dinner, we'd watch a movie, we'd goof off and just have fun. Um, but it was that road that balancing it, you have to know why you're doing it. And my family understood because they've always known education was important. I mean, I educated my kids at home while I was working full time. My husband had a demanding job in Silicon Valley. He was traveling the world while we were doing this. But you had to understand, why am I doing this? And if it didn't add up to 100% of why with a really good solid answer, it was off the table. And then, how am I going to do this? You have to make deals with people. You just do. I mean, dealing with my kids, and I don't want to make it seem like my family's like a deck of cards and I'm trying to deal, but it's really important that they understand how important it is to me, just as when they first got their first jobs, how important it was to them. And so, yeah, we've just kind of had this wonderful open relationship of being able to communicate our needs and why I want to do this, how I'm going to do this. Are you guys going to help? And so, in my dedication on my dissertation, it was all to my family. Honest and true, it was to all of them because they were there for me. And there are times on your doctoral journey, you don't think you're going to finish this at all. And you're going to look at the time wasted, but it wasn't wasted. None of it was wasted. Even if I were to walk away, it would not have been time wasted. Financially, maybe yes, maybe but I learned too much. There were times I wanted to quit. There was times I was, why am I doing this? I'm just going to hang it up. Just go back to lovely teaching and then retire and then go figure. And that didn't sit right with me. It just didn't. It's like I would write a little saying of the day on the wall to just keep me focused, especially when it came time for my comprehensive exams. That I had to deal with my employer here at California North State. I had a wonderful boss, William, and William Davis, a 1 in 10 million. I'm proud to call him my colleague now instead of my boss. But I had to deal with, say, hey, look, I'm doing my comps. Can I please have every Friday off during the month of October? I need 3 solid days to write. I would, and he was great. Yes, of course, absolutely. So, yeah, I would study at night when I come home after grade. I would do all my grading at work and all my lesson plans at work. When I would come home, I would just immerse myself into what the comprehensive questions would be. And then by the time Friday rolled around, Friday night, Saturday, all day Sunday, sometimes to early morning Monday, just writing these answers to the comprehensive examination questions. So it's making deals. How am I going to do this? And then sticking to it, even when the temptation comes to say, oh, just hang it up. Please, just hang it up. It's like, no. And that's that persistence I was researching on. So it's like, are you going to call yourself a phony? No, no, no. You persist. And sharing that with my subjects, my participants in my study, we really bonded because we understood. I understood what they were doing. They understood what I was doing. And that's where the data collection became extremely rich. on persistence. So I learned from myself, I learned from them, and it was really amazing.
That's amazing. You mentioned several important components that are very important during a PhD journey or any journey that is worth it, right? You mentioned the support system, which is
Yes.
something that people tend to forget. That you will find some people after they succeed, oh, I did it alone, or but
No,
it's very important to acknowledge.
support is so important. I had my family. I had my doctoral advisor. He was wonderful. Now, my doctoral the chair. He was the doctoral chair. He was the chair of my committee. My committee was like, yeah, 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 keep going. You're doing good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But he was instrumental in keeping me on track. And then my academic advisor for the university was wonderful. That is a lifelong friend who I have. And there were times I call her up going, what am I doing? And she goes, just stay focused, just stay focused. But really, the heroes of this whole journey was my husband and my children. They were just so supportive. They were on it. Things around home got done. I didn't have to worry about dishes. I didn't have to worry about cooking. That in itself is amazing. Okay. Um, really. But then sometimes I would do housework just to clear my head because I just didn't want to get into this shell where everything stopped so I could do this. I had to go out sometimes, breathe fresh air, rub my feet on the grass to just kind of get connected instead of staying in front of the computer all day. Things like that. Oh, yeah, taking breaks and definitely having my Saturday nights free to just go and hang out with my husband was really, really important. And so, support, yeah, but you really have to know why you are doing this so that you can garner the support. Yeah, yeah,
True, because it's if the person doesn't know or is not passionate to start with or feels, oh, I'm just doing it, because why not?
yeah.
Then you cannot bring everyone on the table, right? You
No, you
cannot.
can't. No, and you can't wing it. I don't see how people say, "Oh, it was no big deal. I just did my dissertation." It's like, no, my dissertation was everything to me. And then when it came time to defend it, oh, it took me 7 years to get, well, 6 years to get my that includes the time I took off to get my doctorate. And um, I was just wondering, how do you defend this? How am I going to go about doing this? I mean, I don't even know how I can. But my advisor, she was so wonderful. She said, Fran, consider the ocean. You live in California. You've been to the beach. When you go on that sand is not just sand, it's grains. You are going to pick up a grain. That is your dissertation. And you are going to dissect it. You're going to pull it apart and you're going to be an expert on that grain of sand. And I went, oh, hey, I can do that. It was just really like, okay, that's great. And my grain of sand is adult persistence. And I pulled it apart and I studied it and I did my research and I wrote my literature review and I met with my participants in my qualitative study and I recorded and I coded and I was getting excited about the whole thing that I would come downstairs for dinner and just go, hey guys, you know what I found out today about blah, blah, blah. And they'd go, yeah, they were polite. They were like, yeah, yeah, mom, that's interesting. That's it. That's nice. Pat me on my head, send me on my way. And I thought, am I becoming a nerd about all of this? I said, I don't care if this is what it takes. I'm so excited about it. So when it came time to defend my dissertation, I was ready. My PowerPoint was there. My committee was there. And I just was on autopilot. I knew exactly what I was talking about. And then when they were firing questions, I was firing right back. And when it came to the end, I said, you mean we're done? Oh, wait, there's so much more I have to tell you about. And that's okay. We've read your dissertation. This is great. That's fine. But I wanted to keep going. And that was probably the greatest highlight out of the whole journey was wanting to keep going to talk about what I found, what I researched. And so when everything was said and done, and we logged off because it was done over Zoom, the phone rang and I pick it up and it said, hello, may I please speak to Dr. Wise? I just went through the roof. That was so cool. That was cool. And it's a funny name, Wise. It's in name only. wisdom is something that you have to pursue your whole life, and we never really get to it until the end, but that's another story. So anyway.
No, I love it. I love it. So I'm so inspired, you know. I mean, I bet that all the listeners will definitely benefit a lot from everything that you're saying. And I loved how you mentioned when your advisor stated considering the sand as grains, and that when you're doing a PhD, you're taking one grain and dissecting it, which shows us that we need to be humble as well, right? That
We
there's
do.
so much to learn,
There
right?
is. Yeah. And that beachfront with all the grains of sand, that's the knowledge base. And you're just adding your grain to that knowledge base. And then you're drawing from other people's research to really solidify how you see things and how you view things. And when you do more research, you're drawing from them and they draw from us. And it's very symbiotic. And I think that's great. I love the idea of the beach being the knowledge base, because that's all we do. We just add to it and add to it. And then when they told us, you're not here to solve problems, you're just here to add to the knowledge base. At first, I was like, what? Because professional doctorates, like an education degree, like an EDD, um, they're problem solvers. But when you go PhD, you recognize the problems, you present issues about the problems, but you're not there to solve it. You're just there to put out the information so people can draw from it to solve a problem. That took a long time to wrap my head around. I'm going, well, wait a minute, wait a minute. I like to solve problems. As an administrator, there's problems 24/7. It doesn't matter if it's a preschool or a graduate school. There's problems and problem solving skills. We always tell our students, you need good problem solving skills. Yeah, but that comes through experience, but it also comes from learning and drawing from the knowledge base to take information to come up with a suitable solution. And if that solution doesn't work, you go back to the knowledge base, you do more research, you find some more ways to solve it, you go back to the problem, you apply it. If it works, congratulations. If it doesn't, go back. There's that persistence thing. And so it's a really different approach on, especially in education, on how to problem solve, or the fact that it's not my problem to solve, but here's information that will help you solve the problem. And that took a lot of time to get my head wrapped around it, but I'm there. It's okay. I get it.
That's great. Well, I do understand definitely when it comes to post-secondary and adult education. I mean, being very broad fields, right? There are definitely so many challenges and problems, you know, pressing challenges. And in addition to the challenges, there will always be opportunities in these areas. So, what do you think, from your vantage point, are the most pressing challenges and opportunities in the field of post-secondary and adult education?
Yeah. It covers such a wide field because continuing education, especially in the healthcare professions, you have to get continuing education because you need to stay on top of it. Nobody likes a lazy doctor or a lazy nurse that doesn't understand the latest trends. But it's challenging. Why? Because it's time. Everything is time. We work full time, okay? And we want to get really good at what we do. Now, when I work with our postbacks, a lot of them go through what I went through of, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to get into medical school. And you go the journey with them. Just like I had the support, I always tell them, where are you living? Who's supporting you? Do you have good roommate? Do you have good spouse? Do you have good partner? Do you have, parents? Do you have cousins? Do you have friends? How do you do this? But the challenge is always time and time management. And we can go back to, oh, yeah, time management skills. They always have to be, that is a battle that will never end in life. You can master time management, but when a new situation comes off, it will throw it right off. Time management will be with us till the day we die. And is time going to master you, or are you going to master the time? If we master the time, it calls for sacrifice. Big time. Are you willing to sacrifice? And that's another question to ask. Why do you want to do this? What are you going to sacrifice? And so the challenges arise, and they're all related to time. How am I going to do a really good job at work, okay, while I'm working on, even now, even more research, taking the time to do research? Oh my goodness, it's difficult, but you do it anyway. And the publish or perish idea. We're at a teaching university. I love to get the ideas on how we teach and learn and everything else, and how do I work with our postbacks. And so you take your experience, and you write up, and I did that for adult learning on how to keep going. People have been connecting me over that latest article that I wrote to how do I do this. But really, the challenge of it all is time. It will either master you or you will master it. And if you're going to master it, there's some things that have to go. And that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing to accept. And it's acceptance too. We don't accept a lot of things in life. We go on, and I can tell when I don't accept things. I complain about it. I whine about it. Why do we have to do that? Why did they do this? Why did they do that? And it's like, stop, stop. Sometimes it's a very sorrowful acceptance of, this is the situation. We just have to accept it. Because from acceptance, you move on. From acceptance, you can grow. You know, like you were saying, we're from these challenges, where do the opportunities arise? And you know what? You have to settle down and think about it, because it could be right in front of your face and you'll miss it. Introspection is so very important, and that's a part of persistence. Finding out what worked and what didn't work. And what worked, keep it going. What didn't work, you figure out where things went wrong. How could you have pieced it together? And if it's something you can't solve, acceptance. You can go to other people to get their ideas, their views, but it comes to that uncomfortable acceptance of, well, it went wrong. So what am I going to do now? You don't give up. You just find another direction. And I find that with our postbac students, that they have always had it in their heart they're going to be a doctor. And when they hit that road of becoming that applicant, that competitive applicant, it'll be the MCAT score that keeps them from getting in. Okay, that is the medical college admissions test. It's like the SAT of the medical school, and so they have to go back and figure that out. Persistence says you're going to go back. And what I find with our postbac students, and excuse me, I don't mean to talk so quickly, is there's no plan B. Plan A is it. And if plan A doesn't work, you pull it apart, you become comfortable with failure. And then you go back and you refigure, and you keep working plan A until you're in. And if I didn't have my doctorate, I'd be going, oh, guys, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. But no, I mean, I've been working with postbacks for 8 years now. And as a matter of fact, one postback that I was working on, I think she was here like 3 or 4 years ago. She's in medical school now. Why? She kept working plan A until she got in there. And see, that's what medical schools are looking for. They're looking for adult learners that know how to think. And, we don't naturally learn how to think. We really have to. Experience helps us think. Critical thinking is really important. And my pet peeve about it is there are no formal critical thinking curriculums in K-12 unless you go to alternative education like homeschooling, where parents say, we're going to take a critical thinking class and we're going to do it together. Okay. And that is just really, really important, is to learn how to think, not what to think. That's what pedagogy does. Here's what you're supposed to think. Andragogy goes, here's how you think. And critical thinking is really, really important. So yeah, the challenges, you have to meet them. And then you have to decide, how am I going to go about doing this? And where's my support for it? And look at the opportunities that come out of those challenges. But if you're not listening to yourself and not really thinking and pondering, more than thinking, just pondering about what happened. Why did it go wrong? What's my role in it? Unless you do that introspective, you could still be making the same mistake over and over and over again and blaming everybody else. We're hearing a lot about that in our day and age right now. So, yeah.
You mentioned several very important things that brought up a couple of questions in my head. So I'll start with one, which is you mentioned being persistent and focusing on plan A because most of them do not have plan B, it's only plan A. Do you think it's advisable not to have plan B and just focus on one plan? And if so, when should they stop and figure out, you know what, maybe I should think of another plan? Or
Mhm.
yeah, what's your
Yeah.
take on that?
Yeah, we talked about it. We did. And plan B is to rework plan A, and they want to do it. Now, there have been a few that went ahead and kept applying, not getting in. They had to draw back and say, "Okay, I really want this, but you know what I fell in love with? Nursing, and not just being a nurse. I want to be a physician assistant." So through that whole process, and I had one student come back to me because he was in medical school. He was studying podiatry, and he texted me and said, "Hey, I got to talk to you." And I said, "Sure, what's going on?" Now here's a man with 6 kids. Yeah, in medical school, going, "I missed my son's little league game the whole season. I'm dropping out." And I'm going, "Okay, what's your plan?" I'm going to apply to nursing school and get my BSN. Then I'm going to apply to become a physician assistant and not miss any more of my kids' things. Okay, now here's a guy that worked that plan until he got in. Okay, but there are people that do work that plan, don't get in, and go, "I think I want to learn about graduate study." And so they're applying to their master's degrees. Okay, and doing really well. And there's two roads that happen. One road is they got a master's in some kind of healthcare related field, okay, that would really work well in a medical school, or just something that gets them into the healthcare field without having to go through medical school. It's going to be one or the other. And the ones with the master's degree, I had one student that just emailed me yesterday saying, "Thank you." I wrote her letter of recommendation for her master's degree 2 years ago, and she got her master's, and we just stay in touch. She did a beautiful job on it. She 4 pointed her way through it. And then she said, "I'm not sure I want to do medicine." And I'm like, "You got to ask yourself why." So we went through the whole thing of talking about it. But she said, "I'm just going to apply anyway." She did really well on the MCAT. And she emailed me saying, "Yeah, I'm still sticking with plan A. I just got accepted to Toro, and I'm going to medical school." And so I was really happy for her. But there are students that get their master's degree and go, "I think I'm done. I think I'm done. I really understand what I'm doing, and that being a doctor's not in the cards like I thought. But if I change my mind later, I'll try again. But until then, I think I just want a career, and I just want to just settle down and just enjoy life for a while because I've been at this for 6, 7 years. And you know what? I just so they come. That's the beauty of adult learning. They come to these conclusions where they make sense to them, and I'm sitting there trying to be the theorist, going, "Yeah, Knowles would agree with you because of this and this and this, and yeah, that's right, that's right. Oh my gosh, you're demonstrating all the theories," and I've got to cover that up and go, "Yep, sounds good to me." And I'll tell you why from a technical standpoint, and I'll just read off that things need to make sense to the adult learner before they move on, and they do eventually because they are adults. They will reach those conclusions, and some will go to plan A until they finally have to give it up. They do eventually, but most they keep going and they get in. And here's the thing: in medical schools, there's a shift. There's a shift in the generational understanding of our students. The students that are undergraduate students right now, coming in as freshmen, sophomore, junior, whatever, into college, they are not the same students, not the same type of thinking students. When I mean thinking, I'm not saying that they don't think. What I'm saying is they have a different mindset. They grew up with the internet, they grew up with phones, they grew up with screens. Students in the 70s, 80s, and even 90s did not have that. Okay, they didn't have it at all. And Their approach to medical education was you apply in your senior year, you get accepted, and you go to medical school after graduation. That's not the case anymore. It's not. Some do, some actually do. They do apply in their senior year, they get in. Most of them don't get accepted. They're told to go out and get experience. Go work as a scribe in an ER room. Go work at a nursing home. Go get industry experience. And that's what our postbacks have when they come. They have industry experience, especially in the dental field. Oh my goodness. They're working as hygienists. Okay. They've already have their training and they want to be dentists, and getting into dental school is just as difficult as getting into medical school. And so it's different. And so what the medical schools are looking for is more maturity. They're looking at older postbacks or people that have worked the industry for maybe 15 years and then decide they're going to medical school in, like, their late 30s, early 40s. They're getting in. They're getting in. And it brings a diversity, not just in ethnic heritage. It's bringing a diversity in age and in reason. And that is something medical schools are very hungry for. So I'm finding the older my postbacks are, the better chances they have of getting into medical school, because they come in as adult learners that are aware of, I am an adult learner and I need to know what's important in order to learn. And yes, lifelong learning that phrase has been overused to the point of, oh yes, they're a lifelong learner, but you have to be in medicine. You have to be. If you're not on top of your game, you'll you'll get fired, you'll get sued, and both. Okay, you have to be on top of the latest trends, and trends, they are going at rocket speed. If Silicon Valley has gone at rocket speed, my father and my husband my father was a Silicon Valley pioneer. My husband got in there in the mid 80s when it was just taking off. Now it's at light speed. The pace does not slow down. And the same is true for medicine. All the research is going on because we have this marvelous forms of technology to help us with our research. With MRIs, are you kidding? If they had that in the 70s, most people would still be alive. No, what I'm saying is, with the technology, you know, with adult learners, you have to be loving to learn or you're not going to cut it. And it means doing more than just reading the latest journal from the American Medical Association. It's going out there and watching and listening to what your patients are doing and taking notes and figuring and really continuing that whole research as you go along to draw your own conclusions, write your own paper on your own research. That's what they're looking for. And that's what these postbacks are bringing. They're bringing in research experience. They're bringing in more than shadowing experience. They are working the industry. And that's the difference between, I think I want to be a doctor, I'll apply to medical school too. I need a strategy to get into medical school. And that's what adult learners do. They strategize and they make a strategy. And that strategy is plan A. And they keep working it. They pull it apart. They find out where they fail. Like I said before, that strategy, you become familiar with failing and it doesn't feel so bad. Okay. And they fix the failures and they get in. But it takes time. Time is so important. And it takes going back to, why am I doing this? And if that persistence says it's because of this, they get reality checks through rearranging plan A. They get very good reality checks. And from there, they either decide, maybe I'll hang it up and go with the master's degree. Maybe I'll just keep persisting. I don't care if I'm 40 or 41. That's what one student told. I don't care if I'm 40 or 41, I'm not a doctor. I'll still have 30 good years in front of me because I don't plan on retiring. That's perspective. And it's she's doing very, very well. She's in New York City. She went to the Caribbean for medical school training. And she is in her early 50s and doing really great and has no intention of retiring. That's the adult mindset, because you do what you
This
love.
is amazing, amazing. I mean, and you mentioned something also, which is time, and how time is important, right? So, how about you share with us a little bit some of the time management tools or techniques that helped you, and that you also advise your students, to adopt in order to be able to achieve their goals?
Yeah. Every day has a schedule. Every day. The rising time has to be the same time. Um, Taking time for prayer and meditation is very important to me. Taking time for that. Getting to work on time. Getting all my responsibilities. I have to schedule everything during the day, okay, to just make sure the tasks I'm assigned to, they are done on time, and I prefer to get them in early, okay? Just getting the work done. And I tell that to students when we do talk about this in college success seminars. How are you going to manage your time? But you also need to make sure you get time for yourself, because if you are going to be working on a doctorate and working full time, you're going to need some downtime for yourself. But the thing is, when I come home, I have a routine. I talk with everybody, I sit down, we enjoy a meal together. And then after that, the time, if it's a free time, I read, you know, television is out. We've never really done TV in our house. But we do it for movies because I don't like movie theaters. Um, but it's having a schedule for the evening. And for me, when I was working on my doctorate, it was studying. When I'm not working on the doctorate, I have 1 or 2 days a week where I just do research in my field. Just, going on to the university library and seeing what the latest adult journals have to say about persistence, or what it has to do about adult education overall. New theories. There's always a new theory. Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to invent my own. But, I mean, people say Knowles was the father of Andragogy. But you know what? Nobody invents a theory. It's built on one on top of the other. But with time management, it's you have to do what you really enjoy doing. Um, I like walking. I like visiting with my grandkids because I do have them now. I like working with doll houses. I grew up with five brothers, and dolls were very important to me. Not to them, but to me. I love doll houses, and I work on that. That brings me joy. Um, I whatever's going. Like if my grandson's in a play, I'll be at the play. If my other son is doing a presentation, I'll be at the presentation. It doesn't matter. It's just what is going on to make sure that it doesn't fall through the cracks. The biggest problem in time management for me is the weekends, because I just want to plop. And it's like, okay, you can plop, but you're going to have to schedule it. It's true. It's true. The whole weekend would just fall away where I have all these ideas of what I want to do and nothing happened. It's like, okay, then introspective. Why didn't I do those things? Well, because of this. Why? Okay, if I find I need more rest, I'll take more rest. If I really need to schedule my weekends, or time slips away. So, with time management is, why are you managing your time? What, and then you have to identify what's a time sucker. Sucks the time away from you, like seeing what's going on in the world. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I make a deal with myself that on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I don't look at my phone except if it's a text from, because it could be family, but I don't. And these are little discipline things I'd like to build up in my mind. That Monday, Wednesday, Friday, while I'm at work, the phone is off limits completely. Um, and on Tuesday, Thursday, okay, if my phone at work rings, I'll answer it. My desk phone, yeah, that's different. That's work phone. But it's making sure that I don't get sucked into what's on YouTube. Um, and it could be any. I mean, I'm a major fan of Jane Austen. I've got her mug. It's her 250th anniversary. I love all her novels. I'm a Janeite at heart. Um, and I could get lost in every Jane Austen website that's out there, but it's like, no, no, schedule it. Okay. Saturday morning with breakfast, we're going to read about the Janeites. Yeah. Okay. And then when that's over, that's over. It's telling yourself no for a very good reason. Not telling yourself no because you want to be mean to yourself, but you need really good reasoning for your time management. And I find that when things are scheduled on the weekend and I know what I have to do, like this Saturday, it's the garage. Yeah, it has to get done. It's scheduled because right now, after the holidays, it's a nightmare with all the decorations and everything. So, but what I tell my students, be realistic in your time management. Don't say you're going to study from 6 p.m. to 8 to 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night. You know, what about a break? Okay, because nobody can sit for 4 hours and study, you go crazy. So you have to be realistic. What is it you want? There we go. Why do you want it? And how are you going to schedule it? And scheduling is so very, very important. That's time management and making sure that the people who are important in your life, it's not you're going to schedule them into your schedule. That sounds heartless and cold, but you are going to be there for them, and just make sure that with your time management, it's not written in stone, so that if something horrible, important, joyful, beautiful happens, you stop the world and you get in there. So, yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Wise, your last name is a perfect fit for you because you are sharing a lot of wisdom. And I bet that I mean, like you said, it takes years for the person to keep building on the wisdom. And that is why I'm really eager to ask you that if you can go back and give one piece of advice to your younger self at the very beginning of the academic journey, early, what would it be?
To my younger self, you have more willpower than you think you do. Um, you are not stupid like they said you were. And keep enjoying making chains. I would make these chains when I was little to count off the days for the holidays. I made chains to get through my courses. You know, you you count how many days and you make this paper chain and you rip one off and rip one off. I did that during my whole doctoral journey, and people laugh, but I would tell my younger self the chain is a good idea. Don't give that up. But really to just do what's in your heart, and don't give up. Don't say, oh, I can't do it, because I had to face that a lot. Growing up with five brothers, you face that a lot, and it was difficult. And what
It's
I
the
would tell myself,
self-doubt, right?
keep going. Don't listen to them. Listen to your mother. My mother is my hero. I mean, she came to the United States when she was 18 years old. She was orphaned when by the time she was 7. She lived in Ireland. And what kept her going when she was working the farms with relatives was, um, when I'm 18, I'm going to New York City and I'm going to be a hairdresser. And she did. And she's my hero, because it, I had a very graceful, charmed life at 18. My mom was out making her life her own. And what I would tell myself is, Mom's right. Just go make your life your own. You can do this. You can do anything you put your mind to, if that's what's in your heart. It's got to be in your heart, because if it's not there, it's not going to fly. Yeah.
I love it. Make your life your own, and you can always pursue what you have in mind as long as you're persistent and you have passion for it.
Yeah. I just want to add, my father fought in World War II. When he got out, he tried going to college. It was not his thing. He became an aircraft mechanic. He knew how to fix radar, he knew how to fix radio and jet engines. And well, when the jets were invented in the 60s, he learned how to fix those. He went to work for the Federal Aviation Administration, which meant he was inspecting planes during flight time, which is always interesting. But he did not have a college degree. And so when we moved to California, we were in the lovely little town of Mountain View, which was just a bunch of ranch houses among the orchards. He enrolled in the community college at Foothill in Los Altos Hills, and got his AA degree in science, and then went on to get his computer engineering degree through Cogswell College, and joined the Homebrew Computer Club, which met at Stanford, and met these two guys named Steve that were trying to start their own computer company, but they had people skill issues. Like they couldn't talk without yelling at each other. And so he got involved with them to make them to stop it. He helped them get their protocol together by meeting in one Steve's garage and helping them design something that was called the Apple One. That was Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. He kept them together and he said, if you guys don't stop arguing, you will never, ever have a company. They offered him a job and he was smart enough to say no because the layoffs that went with Apple in the very beginning were horrible. But my father was instrumental in helping Boeing. He certified Boeing's computer cockpit that was in the 747 because he understood this stuff. And his Apple One now belongs to my son, Danny, who my father taught my oldest son how to build a computer when he was 13. When you have these, my father was 55 years old when he graduated from college. He is the essential adult learner of saying, hey, my degree wasn't available in 1945, but it was in 1975, and here I am. So yeah, that's where I got the idea of lifelong learning, was watching my dad and my mom say, if you want to do it, just do it. Yeah. Take care of your parents. There.
Oh my God, yes, I love every single thing you just mentioned. Apparently, it's the whole family that is inspirational, Dr. Wise.
Thank you, Dr. Lobby. Oh, this is great. Thank you for having me. I
I,
could talk all day.
I mean, I wish we could go more and more because there is a lot of wisdom that is still there that we need to share with the world. Nonetheless, unfortunately, because of time. How about you share one last take-home message with the listeners?
Yes. Do what's in your heart. And if you don't know what's in your heart, settle down, think, write, listen to yourself, listen to that voice within, and you'll know what to do. There you go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wise. It was
You are
amazing
welcome.
having you on Dr. Podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Lobby. It's been great. Thank you.